wonder why a tiny island you could fit inside California about 6 times over controls the fate of the world's electronics? I mean, you're just trying to buy a new laptop, and suddenly some news anchor is shouting about Taiwan and your brain goes, wait, what does Taiwan have to do with my laptop? Well, quite a lot, actually. And here's the thing, most of the time, when people talk about chips, they're picturing one giant factory doing everything. But the global supply chain for semiconductors is more like a relay race, with different countries passing the baton at different stages. And Taiwan? It's not just in the race. It's holding the baton for the most critical lap. Let's break it down in plain English, shall we? A chip, or semiconductor, starts its life as sand. Literally. Silica sand gets purified into giant silicon crystals, which get sliced into thin wafers. Then, those wafers go through a mind-boggling process of printing billions of tiny transistors onto them. That's the manufacturing stage, done in what's called a foundry. A foundry is just a factory that makes chips for other companies. Think of it like a commercial kitchen, you bring your recipe, they cook it. And Taiwan, through companies like TSMC, runs the most advanced kitchens on Earth. We're talking over 90% of the world's most cutting-edge chips. The ones powering your iPhone and your NVIDIA graphics card are cooked in Taiwan. 90%. That's not a slight advantage, that's a monopoly. But hold on, after the chip is made on that wafer, the work isn't done. That wafer is like a sheet of brownies, you need to cut it into individual squares. That's called dicing. Then, each little chip needs to be placed into a protective package that lets it connect to the outside world, that's assembly. And then it needs to be tested to make sure it actually works. This whole stage, assembly and test, is where Southeast Asia steps into the relay. Countries like Malaysia, the Philippines, and Vietnam are the quiet workhorses. You might think, assembly sounds simple. But it's not just putting a chip in a case. It's delicate, precise work, and it's getting more complex every year. So, while Taiwan makes the brain, Southeast Asia often puts the skull around it and checks if the brain is awake. Now, here's where we get to a part that might surprise you. When people say make a chip, they often think of the whole process happening in one place. But that's a misconception. The design might happen in the US, at a company like Apple or AMD. The manufacturing happens in Taiwan. The assembly and test might happen in Malaysia. And then the final product gets shipped to China to be stuffed into your phone. It's a global dance. But here's the rub, just because the assembly happens in Southeast Asia doesn't mean the chips are safe if something goes wrong in Taiwan. The most precious, hardest to make part is that tiny sliver of silicon from the foundry. The packaging, while important, is the simpler cousin. So, when you hear about supply chain risks and Taiwan, it's because that one island is the single point of failure for the world's most advanced logic. Let me give you a concrete example from your daily life. Say you're buying a new PlayStation 5. The custom processor inside, that's designed by AMD in the US. It's manufactured by TSMC in Taiwan. Then, that chip gets sent to a facility in Malaysia or Vietnam for assembly and testing. After that, it goes to a factory in China where it's soldered onto the main board and put inside the console. If a typhoon hits Taiwan and shuts down TSMC for a week, your PS5 launch gets delayed. Not because the assembly in Malaysia failed, but because the brain of the console never showed up. That's how concentrated the risk is. And that's exactly why you're hearing so much about reshoring and geopolitical tensions. Governments in the US, Europe, and Japan are suddenly terrified of this dependency. They're throwing hundreds of billions of dollars at building new foundries on their own soil. It sounds great, right? Bring the jobs home, secure the supply chain. But here's the thing, building a chip factory isn't like building a car plant. It takes years, costs tens of billions, and requires a level of expertise that's brutally hard to replicate. TSMC is building a massive fab in Arizona, but even they admit it's more expensive and challenging than in Taiwan. And even if those new factories come online by 2027 or 2028, they'll still be a drop in the bucket compared to Taiwan's output. So, the reshoring trend is real, but it's a marathon, not a sprint. And in the meantime, the island remains the center of gravity. Now, what about Southeast Asia? As tensions rise, companies are also quietly asking Malaysia and Vietnam to do more than just assembly and test. They're trying to move some more advanced packaging there. But again, the real crown jewel, the advanced logic chip itself, remains stubbornly Taiwanese. You can diversify the packaging, but you can't diversify the brainmaking. Not yet. So, next time you see a headline about China and Taiwan, don't just think about naval fleets and politics. Think about your phone, your car, your fridge. They all have a little piece of Taiwan inside. The supply chain is global, but its heart is on a single island. And that's why the whole world is holding its breath. Next time, we'll zoom out from manufacturing and get into Taiwan's ecosystem beyond TSMC, the IC design houses, the niche materials suppliers, and the hidden champions that make the whole machine hum. You'll see the island is more than just one superstar, it's a whole orchestra. Subscribe to Taiwan Tech Pulse for more Taiwan Tech 101.